If we can all start.
We just did it, like the next case. Like, we just finished. Like, you can understand, individual with liberty, that's just purple.
Evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming to June 21st, 2023 Communications Lower Salford Township Communications Committee meeting. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the May 2023 meeting. Hopefully everybody had a moment to look at the minutes. John, thank you very much. As always, appreciate the job of the minutes there. Any questions or corrections or updates? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as posted? Thank you, Terry. Second. Dean, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Thank you. This time we call for public discussion or visitor comments. Ask any members of the public or the committee if they would like to have any comments, please feel free to share. Moving on for old business introduction letter. We did officially now have them in the right hands. They will be going out very momentarily. We discussed a little bit of that beforehand as well, but we're excited to get them out. We look forward to how the response will be, and that is officially underway. I have to say that. Our next option was text alert help desk services. So as we all know, last time we comprised a review of the different options that we had available. I did present it to the board. We had a discussion with it this morning, and I did have some feedback that I would like to share here. One of the first comments that from the board was for the price. They want to see that there is a significant use. If they don't want to be redundant to get those messages, and I did share that we hope to attract even a different audience, but that's one point that was made. Another one was to define its use a little more. So again, I think, and I had some conversations with some of the board members after the meeting too, encouraging them to, visit the different websites and share that with them as well. There was also some discussion about Ready Monco, and I know we had discussed that as well. They want to explore the capabilities maybe that we have for Ready Monco, such as things for alerts for smaller items, as we discussed too. I know we covered that obviously emergencies would be sent out, and we were focusing more on here's something for country fair days. With some discussion as well with our police chief, there might be a possibility to do that and imply that as well. So explore the capabilities for Ready Monco and our website. We want to see what those are as well. Another thing to pursue is the kind of, in closing, they said the parallel, what is available already is kind of what we just said, so that we do not spend more to duplicate what we already have. So that was kind of the consensus there. Again, they were very thankful of all of our research, something that even afterwards in some of the conversations, we understand that, yes, there's not a lot of text.my.gov, not a lot of options available because it's still newer, but I do feel that we're still early, and even though we might not be applying it right away, I think that it's still worth pursuing. We've done a lot of information here as well. So as a result of that, I did actually, and I apologize after the meeting I had met today. I had time for a quick shower back here now too, but I did reach out to Holly and asked if she could, maybe see what kind of contract we have for our website. So I learned a lot more about websites thanks to Civics Plus and all that as well. And as Holly did send it to me, but there's nothing on the contract because that's kind of newer things that we're implementing, those capabilities. So Holly took the initiative to already reach out and to both Ready Monco as well as Constant Contact so that we can get as much information as possible. I don't think we've heard anything yet today, but it was
Fingers crossed. That's
yes.
my fault.
So hopefully we'll hear something on that tomorrow, and I think it is worth perhaps outlining whether we want to graph it, whatever we decide as a committee to really show what we do have and what we don't have. And we might get really lucky. I mean, and what I mean by that is when we were originally discussing, I believe it was Lansdale's, that we reached out to them and they mentioned, do you use Taser, which is a program that Captain use. We thought, wait a minute, we have this one. And that's how we realized that we had the capabilities for our resident request portal. And so hopefully we get more on that, but I wanted to share that with everybody and open up discussion. If anybody, obviously our next thing with this is brainstorm next steps. But anybody want to have any comments or questions?
So.
Done.
If you had to phrase each one of those points as question to be answered,
Yeah.
what would it be? So what was the first bullet point?
These were, so there's just a couple things that were mentioned. The first thing that was said, was for the price, they would need to see some significant use for it.
So
Is there?
they're asking for estimated usages before that you would purchase this, right? So is the question, what is the estimated usage of this package or this?
I think, and I think our chairman had brought it, this one up, but he did say that, he doesn't want something just redundant going to. And these were just thoughts,
Right.
thoughts out loud. So he doesn't want to see something that, like, let's say we're already emailing, now we're gonna send in addition to an email text. So I think the question was, are there people who want? Perhaps, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but the question that he did say was significant use for it. So I don't know exactly how to interpret it. My guess would be, because he said he doesn't want things redundant, he wants to make sure that people will utilize it. People want to receive text messages.
So how would this group interpret it? I mean, what I'm looking for is if we don't understand the question, then we have no chance of answering.
Correct. It's a good point.
So I think from the survey we did, we already determined that people want text messages. I mean,
Which is,
but the number, I think it's kind of skewed because that wasn't a direct question. That was just like under the comments, kind of.
Correct. Another thing that I did briefly mention in conversation too was, again, we reached our survey platform with an audience by the means that we have.
Right.
And by their responses was, yes, there could be people out there who might not have received it because that's not their choice. They might, we don't know. That's
Because we didn't text the survey
Yeah.
to them.
Correct.
We have the capability.
correct. So again, the survey did indicate it. That was discussed, but again, I think it was more, we don't want something to be just another, or, in that case, is it going to be something redundant? And it's hard to answer that. It really is, because again, there's so many other options out there. But I think the big question though, that, in closing, that everybody that was said, said, well, let's say this, and everybody said yes, was again, find out what is available already so that we do not spend money to duplicate what we already have. And again, the other conversations, just sum it up, were to explore the Ready Monco and our website and define it.
so jumping to those items is the question, can Ready Monco send text messages? Because the survey was text message specific, right?
Right.
So it doesn't satisfy that ask if Ready Monco sends emails or Ready Monco sends something else, right? So if we're talking about text alerts, then is the question, can Ready Monco be used to send text messages? Okay.
That's a fair question, and I think that's what we just started to explore with the conversation. That's what. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That is, because again,
I mean,
it
it
was,
just depends on text, but I guess it depends, like non-emergent.
Right.
That's a question more.
Right. So non-emergency township specific text messages.
and that's specifically what we said today too, because again, I'm not, I do use, okay, I can get into the emergency alerts and whatnot, but. I guess I don't utilize it to its fullest potential, and I wasn't sure if that was fed by the county or it could be fed by us. The discussion was that they believe it could be fed by us, and that's what we're going to confirm. And that would be very helpful if we get alerts out, and then notify people, hey, let's go here for starters.
So what I have is can Ready Monco be used to send non-emergency township specific text messages?
And I think another question might be to add to that, and how much work would that require from us? Would we be redundant? We have to send it out multiple times to them as well. How much of a burden perhaps?
So any of you have a Ready Monco account?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went into mine today and there's a lot of stuff, so you can pick and choose, but that was the question. The question is within the realm of what Ready Montco is meant to do, can we put a non-emergency text
Right,
out there?
right.
And that's what High Tech in our police department is looking into. Tom used to work at the communications center down in Eagleville.
Okay,
And work with
Yeah,
the
like-
whole Ready Montco program, so he was contacting his people to find out more information.
I know I got a text when the skip back, was it the parade was canceled, but like I wouldn't consider that an emergency.
Right.
So
that's-
like,
that's-
that'd be like a similar,
And so and you know, that could be something that we might have, and then is there, you know, obviously, these are
Right.
things that we would find. Once we establish, yes, can we do that? I think another thing with the use now, I don't want to get too off too, but you know, with this while we're on the discussion too, is okay, so. This is one use, but I mean, what about the, you know, the interactive? And the interactiveness that I had too, you know, when you're sitting down on a Sunday night, and, oh, let me think, you know, this permit, that permit, yes. And that was another question we had, was that information available on the website? Yes, it is. Can everybody find it as easily? Is it easier just for some people to text? You know, that's the question we need to know. That's where we want to find, there's the use. Some people say, hey, it's so much easier for me to say that. And then again, there are other people who just prefer to call, so you know, we have those options.
Speaking about the website then, is it? Is it the same question or a different question? Is it the same, can the website be used to send non-emergency township specific text messages? Or is it another question?
I think that's a separate question. I know we looked into that in the past, or Holly has looked into that in the past and saw that there is some capabilities, correct? But you would have to do that. Because that's another thing as well, if the Ready Montco. And that the Ready Montco is already paid by the Montgomery County taxpayers there, so that's something already that we wouldn't have to do, but yes, what is our website capable of? It seems that if Ready Montco is available, that might be easier route to take to use what we have. But if, yeah, I think, sorry, ranting now, go for it, I think, yes, it's important to see what's on the website as well,
So same question,
yes. And we put non-emergency text,
right?
so. Anything else that we can think of to go with, that we could propose to both of these? Can we do non-emergency text? What other capabilities with text might go? Do we have that? Obviously, besides the interactiveness. I think that was it, right? Just, that was the only, because we have text messaging and interactive text message responses.
So there was. The first, your first two, the one was about confirming usage, but that seems to be a tough question if they're.
Yeah.
Asking for an estimate of usage when you don't know that much about it.
Right.
The other one sounded like it was a definition of its usage, how it would be used, or more details about how it might be used.
Define its use. And then again, there's some discussion about what it could do, and that's when we got into, okay, well, what is Ready Montco already capable of? So really, it was kind of brought into define its use and to explore the capabilities of Ready Montco on our website.
So are they looking for clarification on usage besides the high level comment we just kind of put in these questions, which is as a way to send non-emergency township specific text messages? Is that not enough of a usage?
I think, yeah, I think that's good. I think, and I guess an answer to, again, what is it looking for? It seemed just to be the concern was, yeah, it seems like a good idea, but do we want to spend the money if we already have that? You know, so I think, and that's why I said, after me, hey, I encourage you to look at this, because the interactive thing is something completely different. Even if we do have the texting capabilities, is that something you want? But I think hopefully that answers your question there, because the general idea was, do we want to spend this if we already have it? Yes, let's get text messages going, but if we have capability, let's try what we have for a year, maybe see how that goes.
What would it mean cost wise though, if there are these capabilities with existing features that we have, like the Ready Montco? Would there be additional cost?
That's a good question. I wouldn't imagine, but I can only speculate there. So
Yeah,
I think we should add that to the question as in, can we put non-emergency text? Is there a cost? Who's that? Additional.
Is it additional? Does
I
the
don't-
township already pay something?
The county pays for that.
But nothing comes out of the township budget.
I don't believe so. I believe that's all taxpayer, but
There would,
the interesting question, I mean, if we were able to put more stuff into Ready Montco for the sake of our citizens. But Ready Montco is so broad in use that it's the whole county. Are we gonna be flooding our information out to people that don't want to hear it or don't want to see it, or?
I believe one of the allures, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you can pick and choose what you would like. So if
You
somebody,
can choose what you get.
Right.
somebody,
That's something we could control. If we decided to go that route, it would be there and people could opt out.
see the people.
Yeah, there's.
I think it's similar to,
No matter where they live, if they should checked off in their dashboard, basically, they're gonna get stuff from us.
Right.
right,
But would they get it if, they wouldn't get it on a broad basis unless they had checked Lower Southbridge Township.
Right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then if this became a thing, this is a point of our, I think one of our objectives then would be how do we be fun? Sure.
They need to opt in.
And one thing,
Every single branch is listed separately.
and somebody might want to, right, and somebody may live in Lower Southbridge and say, well, first I want to know, somebody else might live in a neighboring township or even elsewhere, but they might have a relative who lives here, says, oh, I'm going to check this one and mine, so I get to know this one as well. And one thing that our chief Medwood said as well is that they always try to encourage people to sign up for that, make sure you're on that. So we're already trying to reach people to use this. Maybe if we really promote, hey, did you know you can find out information about this and this? You get constant contact, you can get it via Ready Montco. Maybe that could be a good start too. I think these are good questions to start with because it'll be very helpful and it'll steer us in a better direction when we have these answers as well. Can we put our non-emergencies? Because if we can't, and maybe there's a limit to how many, or what they would be considered. We'll find all that out soon.
Okay, so. We had, generally speaking, 4 questions, right, or 4 question areas. Confirm the usage, which we seem to agree, that's gonna be tough to do.
Yeah.
Sorry. Define the usage, which we're defining as non-emergency township specific text messages. And then we have the question or question areas of what is the Ready Montco capability? Can phrase that in a couple of questions. What is the website capability? Then we can probably phrase that in a couple of questions, like. The big question being, can Ready Montco be used to send non-emergency township specific text messages? And then what is the effort involved to do that? Is there a cost involved, et cetera? But sounds like our next actions are to address those questions, feed them back to the board.
I believe so. And if we have it a month, 2 months ago, whatever we can find, I think it's appropriate. And then that's what I meant, do we display this however we want? We want to graph it, put it comparison. Obviously, the reason I say more than 1 month is we'll have a better idea once we have more information given on our capabilities. But I think these are all great points to go from. And then another thing, and again, it's diving into something, but I think it's something we should consider is maybe we should sum up the interactiveness a little more as well. So it's something else then, but John, back to what you said, we can't really prove that that's a need.
Yeah, I mean, if
we want the tech thing, we know people want that.
Questioning here. How we want to sell the use of an interactive service when we didn't really have that kind of support even from the survey.
It was something we didn't even know was an option.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, unless we don't
Right, because really, we found out then, yes, we should address the need. The need is people want that option to receive information too. That's what we're doing here. But I think it should be something to include too, just as an additional option to consider when we present. it. But yes, not
So-
tied into it.
So is it a possibility, you know, and going back to the questions we thought were gonna be hard to answer even here, I mean, to do another survey and at least kind of specific target. Text messaging and an interactive service, right, rather than the other stuff. Questions along the lines of, would you use a text alert service? It can be, you know, if they want to know what the usage would be to be that specific about a question, or would you use a whatever, an interactive service, right? But
Yeah.
do we do another 3-question survey or something? Try and get that input.
That's something I would love to do again, but that would be something I think we should put to the board if that's, something they want to do. We don't want to pound people with too many surveys, so we don't have them.
Right.
I know the park board plans on utilizing, because we are keeping that. I think that's something I can definitely push to the board, ask if they're interested in doing that. But one could say, perhaps should we dive into this first and see what we have, and then, but going back, I think a survey might be. For me, that's the clearest answer. You want an answer to that question. What does it say? Yes, that would be a good point. Maybe not right now for a survey, but yes, I love the idea of survey. Any other comments on that?
I think a comparison chart. Explaining what each thing, once we have all the information, because we clearly don't have all the information
No.
right now, but once we do. I think that'll be easy for people to see what each thing does. And then it'll be easier to decide what we want to go through. So then that may be a next step, doing a survey. If they say, well, this says interactive. And then there's a question, will people use it? Then maybe we can go further, but I think we just really need more information right now.
Right. I think that's a good point. And that's something we can touch on after that. And we might look at it and say, oh my gosh, if only we had this answer, or oh, we have it, and then we're set just by then. But without that, it's hard to say. I like that thought.
What features does Ready Monco have that we may be currently ignoring?
We do use it, we use it for things like snow emergencies or flooding, like for real flooding, stuff like that, There's an accident on 63, 113, road is blocked,
But do you have any guidelines in hand as to what you cannot use it for?
that's what I've asked,
Right,
that's what I'm asking,
trying to focus on now.
yeah, I don't know. The police department handles the majority of it.
And that was Chief Medley who said earlier too, I think you should look into that, so. These are good questions to ask, but that's funny, that's literally, as I said, I sent the email to Holly, and followed up with, already did it, so. So we're both thinking the same way there, and it's gonna tell us everything. Yeah, they're good questions too, and if they. Now, Holly, just out of curiosity too, is that most things are put in just via the police, correct? If it's an accident, they would have that first, do that. Do we ever use it for our snow emergencies as well?
Yes.
I think I remember,
Snow emergencies,
Yeah.
yes.
okay,
We didn't have one last one. It was so sad.
no,
Gone.
any other? I think these are all great next steps that we already have our. New business for next time here, quite a bit to make sure we compare these and we'll have more comparisons, but any other comments or? Feedback or anything on next steps here? I think these have all been great ideas. I like the possibility of survey in the future, comparison of the chart. And we'll definitely find out. What kind of information we do have. Can we use non-emergency text, website? And is there additional costs? Anything else anybody would like to add? Again, I want to reiterate that the board did thank everybody for looking into this, and we really do. I appreciate everybody's work on this too, and a lot about this. So I do again think it's early, but I think we're on the right pace. I think I just know one comment I said too, and I saw my siblings today. Same thing. I call my siblings, and I said, "Why are you calling?" So it's hey, no, everything's okay. Okay, well, text me. So it might be. It's just a different way altogether. Next order of business, new business. The next one is our fund brainstorming. Do have, thank you for printing these, Holly. I brought copies to print and I saw that these were all printed out. John, thank you for sending. Well, we have our pictures here.
Here's the color.
Yes. Anyway, I printed them, I like that they're printed out, go make copies, these are perfect, so I think our next thing is, again. We do one thing that we did early on, Jessica, we had anything else, like, oh, let's talk about this, we had all these great ideas, but we realized we should focus two at a time, so one thing, we don't want to crowd too much, but we are gonna explore the texting at the next meeting. I think it's worthwhile talking about our next steps here. I did look through this, have a few comments, a few things that stood out right away to me, and I just wanted to see if anybody else had any opinions before we go there too. I think one of the things that I saw, even just for the I know we did do the facilities, or I'm sorry, the different apartments, residential, communities and all, we have reached out to them and has been going well. A couple of times I'll get some emails where, Montgomery Woods might reach out, want some more maps, stuff like that. So I'll bring them to them when they get them as well. We made one good thing we got out there is to make sure that all of them have received our newsletter, which, as we have learned through surveys, have been huge. So the good thing is that they all have that. They have access to the maps. They know where to reach out. I think it might be worthwhile, since it has been a while, just kind of follow up maybe and check with all of them, as I know only a few of them will reach back to me here and there, just, hey, we need some more of these maps. But that's one thing I saw that I thought maybe we could just do compose another welcome letter saying, hope everything's going well. Don't forget to reach out to us. We have this email if you need anything or would like to offer any services. That was one of the first things that I saw on there that I remembered wanted to say out there, but anything else we can possibly have for future meetings here? Also, I know that with the business letters, we might have a lot more to talk about next time as well,
Oh, based on the feedback that comes now.
based on any kind of feedback that's on,
Right.
just as we did with the survey as well. But again, we can all take a look at this and bring it home as well, and bring it up next time too, anything that anybody would want to mention there. But I think it's good to it's good to see it all here, and I appreciate that again, John. Any other comments for possible future endeavors here? Yes,
Just a note, I provided 25 of the quick reference guides to the JCs. They laminated them and put them on the big tables at the Harleysville Country Fair days.
fantastic.
So, and there was a QR code on, so that's something that went to anybody who went to
That's what
Country Fair days.
we
So they saved them because they were laminated. They have a laminated machine up there, so they laminated them probably somewhere
that's great.
in the pool area. I don't know. I've never been to the pool. I've been to the community center, but I've never gone to the pool.
That's great to hear. I did not, I went to the fair, I did not see that. I didn't notice that. I was probably just talking with everybody that I saw and looking at the table. That's great to hear.
Be able to see any uptick in
I was curious, did you have more
based on
subscribers?
people having QR code available or maybe
No.
having it on their phones?
I'm hoping that people just took a picture of it. I mean, really, the QR code, I think, takes you to the resident request portal. Right on there.
Yeah.
And I sent you the resident request portal information, the summary
Right,
earlier this
Right.
week. So I don't. It's hard to gauge when there's different phone numbers to see if more people have called all the different contacts that we have on there.
so it's great to hear. And thank you, Holly, for doing that. And for the follow-up, if everybody saw these as well, it's fascinating to see. The number one thing was roadway requests. So that was and park maintenance requests was out there as well.
Lots of trees.
It's good to see. It's definitely,
Trees seem to be trees and garbage cans for poop bags seem to be the top of the list.
Like always a rip.
Can you put a garbage can here?
I continually have heard good things about the resident request portal. Those people, even from various townships, I said, well, that's pretty neat, so it's nice to have there.
I think if we get a tough winter here at some point, hopefully not this year, hopefully not ever, but if we do,
You never know.
we might see a lot of things show up then.
Oh, exactly.
That'll be great.
And what I'm curious to see is how much more this will be used. I mean, one of the big things obviously we're doing is getting this out there. By use of the fair, by the residents, the businesses, and any needs we can. So will there be an uptick in usage? And is that good? We don't want more roadway problems or more snow, but we do want people to utilize that to take, to take the time, to take less time for the staff if it's something that could be done, notified quicker. Well, again, I think,
So there's two things with a list like this that I might suggest. One is we simply take the next thing on the top of the list. We rank them once. Assume that that's still the correct ranking. And we either do something about the first, the next item on the top of the list, or get rid of it. It's, it's like, okay, is there something we really would want to do, something we can benefit the township with by doing a facility manager follow-up with it? Or not? And, the fact that it's on the list doesn't mean that it's, definite. It's a brain.
right,
So,
right.
that, in hindsight, maybe that doesn't make sense anymore. Take it off the list, right? Or the other approach is what we call grooming the list, right? Which is we spend the time and you can time box it as 5 minutes to make sure there's some control over it. And you spend 5 minutes talking about each of them. And in that case, you either strike it from the list or revise it or re-rank it. Hey, good idea, but this ought to be lower down, right? And you groom the whole list. But it feels,
No,
it feels like we ought to do one or the other, either action the thing on the top because we thought it was worth actioning. Or take it off, right, or groom the list, and if we think, we did this list, what, a year ago?
Yeah. And I think you hit it there well. That's a great idea. So my suggestion then is, do we want to start going through this now, or should we go through this? And then put that as our next order of business? Let's go from here. I'll leave that up to the committee here as well. I think there's a few we could. I'm okay with either way. Like that. Any consensus on that? Because again, next time we might have more to do, as well.
Well, we can go through them now tonight
Yeah.
for the purpose of striking out things that we don't want, that we've either already done or no longer want to consider a priority.
I think that's a good point. And then discuss or groom them next time, perhaps. That's time a little while there too.
Right.
And as
That gives
things
us
come
time
available.
to make our own decisions with what we feel priority.
I think that's fair.
And like I said, depending on 5 minutes, but you have the timing, it's just, you don't get too deep into details.
And I
Discuss it, strike it, modify it, and move on.
And I think just going through striking so go through now, strike the obvious ones out, then discuss later, seems
Yeah.
for consensus.
Okay.
I agree with that as well, but that'll give people time to kind of have more to say on everything too, once we brush up and see what it is. All right. Very good point, John. Let's so the facility manager follow-up letter. That was the I believe that was the residence facilities that we were just saying as well. We have reached out to them before. We never sent out our letters, visited. Do we want to follow up again? Do we want to strike that out? Again, that was something that I saw that thought might not be a bad idea. I haven't heard from everybody in a while. I wouldn't even mind knocking on the doors again and saying hello, if that's okay as well. That's either one of those is okay. I don't think we need to send a whole letter since we've already established the communication.
So I think all you need to do is say, are we keeping it or are we?
Very good, yeah,
Okay.
I'm already starting to group,
Yeah,
keeping or not keeping?
right. So we keep-
I would say keep.
I keep
Why work to establish a line of communication and let it falter?
Number 2, thank you, Terry, keep your straight. Resident welcome letter.
Is that like for people who move into the, or?
It's kind of, yes, originally we had a welcome letter idea that was given to us by one of the facilities. Some kind of welcome packet, which is really what put together the whole idea for our. Reference guide, because we
Okay.
realized, hey, let's put this together, oh, look at these needs we have, and I think one of the comments was that. One of the couple residents had no idea that there was a pool. And, you don't think about that, you're getting right off the turnpike, though, going home, going back to work, and. If your family lives elsewhere, you might not really know what's in the township you're living, so that's what started that conversation. So,
We talked about potential sources for new residents. I think one possibility was the outlet who does the newsletter we talked about. Or scrubbing the dress.
yeah,
It was some service that would let you know your people, so.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
so yeah, and the idea of, does the township send something, to newer residents? I think I still like kind of keeping that idea in there specifically for that, and I'm glad you mentioned that, John, so yeah, we kind of evolved this. Whole subject here.
I think we can combine 2, 5, and 6.
Yeah, that was gonna be my
Very good,
question.
very good. 2, 5, and 6, and I'll just say them out loud for everybody, what's like, that's the resident welcome letter, resident welcome packet, I think all that has kind of evolved. Into what we have now, but yes, maybe we should keep the idea open to reach out to newer residents. I think number 3 is redundant, we kind of created that list, that was a top 10 list of contacts and services, we definitely went over our list. Anybody,
Is that just like the stuff that's on the general quick reference guide?
I believe so. Again, it's just
The idea here was to be renter specific rather than. resident Specific.
Okay.
Not,
But yeah,
I'm not sure whether there's enough of a difference or whether it's worth it, but it's.
I think it's hard to differentiate, we shouldn't really in the sense, and that I think was the reason we said it originally is because we were going specifically to the apartments. But yeah, I think we have a reference guide.
I think we do.
Now, it's okay, scratch that. Anybody,
In other words, we can take it off as accomplished.
I think so, yes.
Right.
Yeah, more of a check than scratch off. Dynamic QR codes, different township communication channels.
Skips.
Number 4. That was to try to see if we could track. If we could track, say if we had something, and I believe you mentioned something at a park. In the park, if somebody were to scan the QR code, we know it specifically came from there. And I believe we weren't sure if it was something we were capable of doing. And on there to look into in the future, perhaps, I don't see a need to take it off, it was definitely an idea. It was something that we weren't able to really do yet, but. Any other comments on that? Okay, kind of keep it and see what happens, yeah. 5 and 6 are covered. Large trail map. We have
Yeah.
accomplished with a large trail map, and one of those things.
I have. Oh my God.
And that came about handing stuff out to them and telling them some new bigger ones, so that they could hang up. Very good, so we accomplished. Communications poster flyer, I feel that's kind of accomplished, is that you all agree, or were we speaking of something different on that? I think that was kind of our reference guide.
Yeah, correct. Number 9.
Number 9 is accomplished, and again, I think it's worthwhile, we can discuss later to follow through, just make sure everybody knows in case there happens to be new managers and whatnot. But yeah, they know that they can reach us via our communications. Number 10, sending information to new residents and facility. We were able to get the new information. This kind of was the whole idea of our welcome packet. I think this was more of our welcome packet, and we were able to get these two. And the first thing we did with our reference guys was send it to the facilities. Like, here you go, we have this, and then kind of changed it into ours. I would say we kind of have that one covered. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
For now.
Or is it part of the 2, 5, 6? I mean, is it 2, 5, 6 and 10? It's new resident stuff.
I think it does kind of apply in that too. That's what I just attested to.
Said that for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, the difference being kind of the target is new residents.
number 11, subject matter, that's ridiculous. It was. Yeah. And this, I think we can keep on and explore this more. I'd be interested to
subject
talk
matter.
about this more. Yeah. Again, I don't want to go too off now, but I think that is something that we had some good. Well. I'm still okay keeping number 12 on. I think we kind of keep that open here every meeting as well, if anybody wants to come in and offer public comment, but you know, if we go stale of ideas, it's something we could always have on there as well. I don't see the need to remove it. Any other comments on that? I think we're kind of doing number 13 now that we we do make sure that people are aware the township promotes all the meetings that we have, but we could kind of keep that in there. If there's another way, we could kind of put that together maybe with the brainstorming session. Whereas we could have, you know, it kind of ties in.
Mhm.
So I think those two kind of go together. So we leave in on that purpose. Does that sound about right? Fourteen might be what we're doing right now with in regards to text messaging for those alerts. Because that will cover all residents there. Is that something we should maybe scratch off since we're touching, or is that something we had a further discussion on?
I would leave it.
Okay. We can discuss more. Say we leave 15. Yeah, no. I think 16 we can keep in there, maybe have like a special, if we don't have any new business, maybe we could really try to promote, hey, want your residents to come to a meeting. That's something I think we could do in the near future too. And we'll discuss later. 17. I believe we did sort of cover this a little bit with our reference guide. You know, they got it out there in their brochure. So we did try to see what they had, and there's a couple different things that we added that they had that we didn't think of and didn't want to be redundant. Any other comments on that?
I think this was more of a brainstorming session.
Okay,
In terms of, hey, we're trying to do this, we're trying to communicate better with our residents. What are the other areas under the umbrella of Indian Valley? You know, Indian Valley is multiple communities, right? What are other folks doing? And could we get Indian Valley to sponsor a brainstorming session along those lines, where, you know, and I don't know how they operate, but
now I
can we get on their agenda with
Like other-
multiple people from different communities saying, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're trying to do, what are you guys doing? Hey,
I say definitely leave it on there for discussion this time as well. That's glad you brought that up. Want to talk more about that, like that. And maybe perhaps after this too, we should explore re-ranking.
Mhm.
That's our numbers, but. You know, kind of,
Why? It's-
no worries. So I think the dynamic QR codes is what we already kind of talked about a little bit ago, how it sends, we're able to see where it came from. There's a welcome letter, text message.
Seventeen,
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
18, yearly update to the township reference guide, I think should keep. We just read that one, but yet.
Right, yes,
And then 19 would be measure the impact of the communications committee, which I thought we were going to do at the follow-up survey, so we should keep that.
yes,
Number 20, increase the number of residents on the constant contact distribution list.
That one could probably be edited once we figure out what we want to use for words.
yeah,
It would like still worth keeping.
right.
Keep it.
Yes, once we know what we're doing, yeah. Try to give people.
I say 21, then again, we'll make that 21 for the outreach program. Keep that as well. Making sure that the thing in the color, of the numbers are accents. But now we're on, what's it?
We to keep that now.
I think that's what's just kind of covered a little bit. So number 4. Gonna keep that. 23. Definitely check that off. But it's off in what already for now. 24, text messaging alerts. Keep currently working. Township informative videos. I said keep, that's we talked about that a little bit ago. I have all these side comments that I'm holding, but we do utilize those videos still. We're discussing that recently. Publicize our meetings, committee efforts through local newspapers. I believe our meetings are. Like, it would be, I think one thing that we could discuss this more. I say keep it on there because we do publicize our meetings as they're all publicized via the newspaper, but I think we talked about this with more. Hey, did you know we have a communications committee when we're having more coverage? And I think just to kind of do a news thing. So I say keep that in there, discuss. Kind of doing 27 right now. We're finding out exactly what communication tools and channels are available, so working on that. And 28, I think we should definitely keep as well. I brought that up at a recent board meeting about Wi-Fi's now that we have camera access. And that's something that I think we're collectively shared is a good idea to look into in the future, so. So, well. Oh, good idea, thank you. I encourage everybody to kind of review, familiarize themselves with this, yeah. For the next month. We'll add this to our. I think it's good to always kind of have this one. We do have a quicker meeting, again, we've been pretty timely with our meetings, running an hour, but we did kind of finish up most of our business relatively early today, so it's good to have this to get to, and I think this is something we should always kind of keep on it.
Anything new? I have stuff that had to do.
I don't.
Maybe we should think about it and talk about it when we.
But yeah, I think I'll have more of an idea next week. I think we should definitely go through it next week. Some of these I can kind of tie together as well. Thank you for that. That's very important. Any other comments or anything else? No, thanks. Again, we can touch more on this next time, but anything else to add now? Good on that, thank you. Right, with that, I think that can bring us to a final, which is our next meeting, just to double check everybody. See, would be the next third Wednesday. I just want to double check the date. Not that I'm saying I have something, but I want to make sure to say it out loud on here as well. I want to July 19th. It's on my calendar. So July 19th here on Zoom. Any other comments or questions before we continue here? Thank you, everybody. Thanks. As always, I appreciate all your work on this. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'm.
Terry? Second. Team, thank you. All So, I
Aye.
stick around, but I think we'll be leaving as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Holly, as well. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
You can